Hi, I'm Dave Wurzel, and you're watching PHTV4. And with me today, we have 4th Ward Alderman Pat Scully with us. And actually, this is probably, I'm thinking of all the interviews I've done, this is one I'm most interested in some ways is most immediate important to our community.
Well, I think I agree with that.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the business district designation that the Palos Heights Harlem Avenue corridor, a little bit into Route 83 or College Drive, and a little bit 127th. Received was about a year ago now, or a year and a half ago, I think. And what that designation means and where we're at in the timeline. And you're also able to give us some feedback that was collected about it.
That's right, Dave. Just by way of introduction, I am the Ward 4 Alderman for the City of Palos Heights. And just like all the rest of the aldermen, we all sit on various committees and have certain responsibilities. One of mine is that of the chair of the Planning and Zoning Committee. The Olde Palos Downtown Business District, which is on Harlem Avenue, comprised between 122nd and 124th, is the heartbeat of our community. And we are in the process, with the help of an urban planner, MKSK, to develop a plan to revitalize it. And part of that is, of course, getting the feedback from the citizenry and also other stakeholders, the business owners, the property owners, the city itself. And we've been in that process since November of 2025 and hoping to conclude this July, August of 2026 with a plan presented to the City Council, which should give us a roadmap on how to improve our city for everybody.
So we're actually a few months away from that. There should be, excuse me, like a plan in place for, now this is where we're going to try and go with this thing. Let me ask you about, and because this gets back to the plan part, the business district designation is not just an arbitrary label. That actually means something. And it's part of it is revenue driven, but also impacts with this. There's kind of a lot going on here. And maybe
that's correct.
Boil it down. Can you talk about what that means?
Well, there is years ago we implemented a 1% revenue tax on the business district to provide funds for this very effort. And also to provide funds for various businesses to apply for certain grants for signage and improvements, facade improvements and such. So these efforts that we've got put forth aren't coming out of tax dollars. This is all generated from revenues that obviously is supported by the city, but there's also obviously visitors to our city.
Right, so I was asked to clarify, because I think that's a really good distinction you're making. The 1% actually applies only to businesses within that business district designation, right? And it's everybody who visits those businesses pay it. So it's not like a resident. If a resident lives in a different part of Palos Heights, let's say they never shop or never go to those restaurants, they're actually never paying the 1%. That 1% is generated by anybody who goes to that restaurant or anybody who goes to that store.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's a user fee, if you want to put it that way. But the important distinction is it's not coming from real estate taxes.
Okay. And then now the other thing you started to mention, that's where I'd like to go next is, so you've hired a firm, and I believe they've collected some feedback. Like you're in the process. You
Correct.
have some feedback. You're going to be collecting more feedback.
So MKSK has got a 4-tiered plan for implementation of this discovery. The first section is discover. What is Olde Palos? What do we want it to make it? The second is engage, which there have been several community-related engagements. There have been meetings at Lake Catherine, of which I participated in one. It was very active, and the residents were very vocal in what they were hoping to see. There's also been meetings with stakeholders and business owners to say what they're capable of and what they want to see. There've been meetings with the Chamber of Commerce for the same reason, and also with the city and the Public Works Department, because they need to know what is mechanically possible.
Right. So maybe let's start with what you've collected. And as you said, you're not done collecting feedback, and you're trying to get feedback from all the stakeholders, whether community members or business owners in that area. and the departments it impacts in the city. Let's start to look at the survey or some of the feedback
Sure.
you've gotten
Yeah,
already.
yeah.
Then, okay. One of the questions was, how often in that survey were people visiting that area, right?
So of the participants in the survey, and the survey is still live. You can still find that survey with the QR code that is posted on the city website under the Old Downtown Palos effort.
We'll show that as well.
And it's important for people to let their voices heard, because MKSK and also that they're going to give us feedback to the city council. The city council is going to act very much on that feedback, presuming that came from the citizens and the stakeholders. So if everyone sits on their hands or stays quiet and we go off in a different direction, that's not really a good thing. But to answer your question, the 25% of the residents visit downtown daily, half weekly, and the balance over a month, and only 10% say they occasionally show up on Harlem.
So most of Palos Heights residents are actually fairly interactive with the business district area.
Most definitely,
Right.
yeah.
Another question on there was activities and businesses, like what draws people to the downtown?
Well, hospitality, I would say, restaurants, cafes, bars, nightlife. That's what a lot of people are looking to see grow. There's a much younger community moving into town. I think everyone would recognize that. Just as the weather warms up, you can watch the dog walkers and the stroller pushers.
Right.
They're everywhere, which is a wonderful thing. And that community wants to be able to stay close to home.
Now, related to that, so that was the current draw. You also got some feedback, or the company got some feedback on what do people think is missing, or what would they like to see added or part of?
Overwhelmingly, the conversation turns to parking. It's not a very flashy topic,
Right.
but everybody talks about parking. Because the real derivative is people want to make it a walkable town, and it's hard to be a walkable town when you've got cars, particularly in that corridor, that 122nd and 124th, when you've got cars parked in every in front of every store.
Right.
It's hard to see what's in the store
Yeah,
storefronts to begin with, and one of the thoughts is to remove those corridors, that each storefront can accommodate 2.5 cars, and move all of that to the back. Now the back, obviously the stores have to have access to the back for people to get in, but that would give an opportunity to turn that whole Harlem corridor into a promenade, if you will, and
But as you said, like that's a possibility, but that hasn't even been determined yet.
not at all.
Because you're still
That's
cooking.
just some feedback that we've
Right.
gotten from citizens and also from the business community.
That would, as a resident, that would be my feedback as well. Harlem Avenue, the business area in that section, is not very pedestrian friendly, right? And I do understand the parking issues that you're facing. One of the questions that people ask, what do people value most about the downtown Old Palos?
They like the hometown feel of it. They like that there's vendors or stores that meet their needs. They're looking for more. They're looking for a little bit more hospitality, but they want to spend time local, and they want cafes and coffee shops, more retail stores. Very difficult to compete with the monster of Amazon,
Right.
and the big box stores. It's hard for a retailer to maintain a proper amount of inventory,
Right.
for someone who needs to come in and buy a tie. It's just the long and short of it is people aren't buying ties.
Right.
And when you do, so it's a difficult retail market. So the retail then shifts to consumables, something you can't order and wait for the Amazon guy to drop off, which is hospitality, entertainment, and that kind of thing.
Now, I think you've addressed it already, but I just want to make sure that we didn't leave it out, because I know one of the survey questions also specifically asked changes or improvements you would like to see. I'm guessing there's overlap there.
Oh, most definitely. Overwhelmingly, parking was the discussion. Public safety, it was high on everyone's priority, because obviously it's becoming a younger community, and people that obviously want to be safe. But walkability, they want to be able to walk into town and have a coffee or maybe get some ice cream, or et cetera. One of the challenges is Harlem Avenue. The traffic on Harlem Avenue is deep, and it moves quickly.
It moves fast too, right? It's not slow-moving traffic.
Right.
And all, I mean, related to that, maybe we should designate, I think people are aware, maybe some, maybe not, that each one of those, not separate businesses, but there's several landlords over there. Like the city doesn't own sidewalk to the road.
No.
Those are owned by landlords in those areas.
That's right. Those stakeholders, those businesses, some of those businesses are tenants, and some of them own the property. But each of those, for the most part, each of those storefronts is a separate building owner. Maybe an owner may own several of the storefronts, but there are a number of owners that have to get on the same page. And one of the comments from that survey and those meetings with those folks was nobody wants to be the only guy that did it.
Right.
So there's got to be a buy-in from everybody to make this work.
Right. It does. That certainly complicates things because many of us have walked through other towns that have a nice pedestrian walk area and it's uniform like that. Those, I'm guessing, are owned by a municipality,
right?
Which is unfortunately a hurdle that our city is going to have to get over.
Eventually, yeah. That's the mission. There is for everyone to say this is a good idea. We want to do it. We want to promote our businesses. We want to make our tenants more prosperous so they can, be long-term tenants. And all of that revolves around the almighty dollar and the customer showing up. And the consumer wants to be able to walk up and down.
Yeah. How about? And I think we've hit on it again, but just to double check, you also, part of that survey was for people to rank, like, what's the number one priority, what's number two? I can guess. I'd rather you not make me guess, but go ahead. What was their number one priority?
Let me see. The number one priority would be parking and access, existing building improvements, just the newer facades, and public space improvements. We hadn't touched on that, but there's in that corridor where we're focusing on, there's not a lot of public space. There's no green space because it's all buildings.
It's not very aesthetic.
No, but that's something we can work on.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that MKSK has got talents in being able to make something out of nothing. There was a comment, and I think it's a valid one, of the branding and recognition of town to get everybody excited to say, hey, come alive, I think is the Palos mantra now. It's been in place for some time, but now it's, we're looking for ideas on how to make it more exciting.
Yeah. These last two, and again, some of it we're revisiting were, you did ask, and maybe we need the survey results on that, like where do people currently go to shop? And as you mentioned, Amazon is out there. And
right.
There is certain other shopping things that, whether that shop existed on Harlem Avenue, they may or may not go there. They're going to maybe go to Amazon or a big box store.
Right.
Were there certain things people were looking for?
Well, most people on the survey said the first choice, if they don't shop here, where do they go? And that's Orland Park. Other folks say Crestwood. Oak Brook was mentioned. Burr Ridge was mentioned. Oak Lawn was mentioned. People always try to mirror what we want to do on Harlem with what they've done in LaGrange. So those are our competitors, and we recognize that. As far as stores that are people most frequent, I think they're more utilitarian. It's the Jewel, Aldi, Target. Those are things where you get your necessities. Walgreens, et cetera. But interestingly enough, people in that survey, what stores you frequent the most, didn't mention any local retailers, which is opportunity for growth.
Right.
We've got opportunity there.
Yeah, it is an interesting area. Not my area of expertise, but I'm thinking about, why are they shopping in Orland? Well, because you have some of the big department stores, you have malls, you have some larger specialty stores. Probably not the kind of large specialty store you would see on Harlem Avenue.
Right.
But,
well, it doesn't exist on Harlem as we speak. You can't find a golf shirt on Harlem.
Right.
It's not here.
What about the last one? You've got an other, which I'm guessing is kind of a catch-all. Other things that people would like to see. Again, the parking and the sidewalk and,
Well, overwhelmingly, I think people are looking, and I think it might be a function of the respondents to the survey, the younger people, because they're newer in town. They're excited to be here. They want going to be here for a long period of time, hopefully. And so they responded as you would expect younger people to. They're looking for hospitalities, for a little bit of nightlife, some live music, some entertainment venues. So those are, that would be the mission.
Okay. And then the next thing, and I saw this diagram you had posted at a city council meeting, because for residents who have lived here for a while, we've looked at Harlem Avenue the way it is for a while. Is something going to finally happen? There is a timeline in the process right now. We saw it at the last city council meeting. Can you talk about where we're at in the timeline, like what's happening next?
Sure. Again, as I said in the onset, this effort began in November of 2025, scheduled to conclude in July or August of 26. There is a scheduled, tentatively scheduled, I should say, open house for the end of April. I would encourage people to attend. MKSK is going to put on an open house, exactly what, as I mentioned, that will allow people to provide more feedback, to understand the feedback that has been presented thus far, and then where we're going to go from there. So they're in the middle of working on the master plan to present to the city. The city council would be the mechanics behind that. And then our implementation is up to us, both the city and the citizenry and the stakeholders.
So after that open house, there'll obviously be some time to process that, and then in July, that company is going to come back to the city and say, all right,
here's the plan. It's a roadmap.
It's a roadmap, and then at that point, the city council, mayor, I'm imagining at that point you're even checking with the departments again. Then you'll say, okay, this is what we need to do.
Well, we can adopt it, we can amend it, we can change it a bit, we can tweak it. Be interesting to say, what our setbacks are, roadblocks are, and how to overcome the roadblocks. The real mission is to get everybody on board to improve that stretch of real estate, because it's the heartbeat of our community. It
really, yeah, it absolutely is. A final question for you then, because we've been talking about it and the stakeholders and collecting information. If people are out there and they have questions or they want to, express an opinion on this, what should they do? Who do they contact? Where do they go? And you mentioned the QR code. That's still an active site that they go.
Within the city,
emailing you, or?
Well, no, of course, yeah.
Okay.
Scully at palosheights.org is my Palos Heights email address. Amy Ingalls is our fine assistant city administrator. She's kind of the point person on this effort as well. But you could reach out to any of your aldermen or any of your friends who you feel comfortable with talking about it. The key for this success is everybody's input. So, we don't have a small sliver of people making a direction that we think is actually the sum total of the whole.
Right.
And if
it's our community,
it's our community, and everyone's got to have a little piece of it.
Okay. Alderman Scully, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. I wish you luck on this, because this is obviously a very, very important project. Its impact on the city and the community and its residents is, I don't know, it can be overstated, really.
Yeah, it is important, and thank you for making that amplification, because it is. This is the map, the roadmap of the future, and we want to make sure that it's sound.
Good. All right. Good luck with that project.
Thank you.
I'm Dave Worsley. You've been watching PHTV4. We've been talking with Alderman Pat Scully about the business district and the plan going forward. Thank you for watching.